Welcome back to my channel, Libra. This is just a quick situationship kind of reading, so it's en route. So I'm just going to go through some of the cards. This is just what your current energy is with clarifiers pulled below. So I'll give you a sort of a general idea of what's happening, and then I'll go through the clarifiers and try to piecemeal things together and tie it in at the end. So this doesn't have to be a love interest. It can be just a significant relationship to you. And just where things sort of stand at this point. So, I mean, in short, there is a lot of guidance that you're being given at this time. You're certainly going to be getting some immediate downloads for sure about how to handle the situation, and it's going to be very direct information, I feel, during this time regarding this connection. I do feel this could be regarding a younger person. 20s, 30s, Knight of Wands kind of represents that for me. Not quite a mature energy here, but I do feel or at least doesn't behave as a mature energy. I do feel with the Death card, like I said, there is something that's about to change, and this does feel to me that there is a water sign that's quite evident in the picture here. Again, just going through it generally. The Justice card is really about weighing the pros and cons of a situation, and I do feel, you know, given the imagery, that this has really been a situation, again, very hard, difficult situation where there's been a lot of communication issues. In quite an extensive way. I feel like you're probably at a point where you feel like you do want to walk away from a situation because there's just no level of maybe feeling or seeing that there is anything that's righting itself up ahead. However, on a side note, and certainly up ahead, we do have that there is still a healing that's taking place in regards to a situation. So you are getting some ideas, like I said, in this current energy about how to deal with a situation. And certainly, again, it's a very significant connection to you. It doesn't have to be a love interest, but somebody who's very important to you. Excuse me, that does seem to be quite relevant. And I'll read the last cards here, and of course there's clarifiers below with that, but let's just kind of go right through here again. Okay, so again, we'll just kind of piecemeal things a little further. There is, first off, a lot of major arcana out here regarding this situation, regarding this relationship. This relationship is one of, I would say, quite a significant focus for you. Not only that, but there's also a lot of a really, you know, it's almost like this relationship is needing protection. I say that because the Temperance card, the Justice card, the Star, it just feels like overall there is something that is very significant here that needed to transform. It needed to change. It needed to have some kind of a decision to balance things out. And I feel like, you know, there's been a lot of hard lessons, a lot of hard look at the situation before it really comes to some kind of resolve. But definitely in this current energy, there is some mulling around of the issue. I'm not saying everything is definitely going to be resolved in this current month, but because the Death card is it's a transformative energy, and this could very well be that you're just in the throes of that energy, but it's about rebalancing things nonetheless. So there's not any resistance to change at this point from what I see. I feel like things are fairly open, and this is definitely divine timing, definitely a divine direction. I do feel like there is some action that's taking place here in regards to that Knight of Wands. So like I said, there's a lot of energy here that really speaks to, you know, there's been some distance, I would say, in terms of this connection. Certainly, there's been some hurt words, that kind of thing. But like I said, I mean, whatever the thoughts or the belief systems, that kind of thing, it feels like there is some kind of emotional warming or some kind of compromise that comes in here that sort of offers a new version of things. And, you know, whether it's you being a little more objective or someone else being more objective in the situation, it does feel like a certain level of harmony is being restored here. So again, even with the Justice card, I mean, you're looking at things in a fair way, good conscience, all of that, and it definitely speaks to kind of bringing life around in a way where you are getting a clearer picture on how to deal with it. So I feel like, you know, even in terms of something that was broken, whether it was a contract, whether it was a connection, and I do feel like there was a certain level of breakage of the old, because this is having to be refaced in some way. So I definitely feel like this relationship has, you know, ended a cycle for sure in some old way of doing something. But either way, I do feel like the harmony is going to be coming through here. Like there is some kind of balance with that Justice card. Again, the Death card is one that is showing a successful passage through, especially with Death and the Justice card, especially side by side. So I feel like there is some kind of regeneration of sorts here. And again, it's regeneration on a few different levels because we also have the Star card. But it's just something that's really, you know, been kind of pressurized, I would say. And I say that because the Knight of Wands is action that's taking place, but it's right around all these swords. And of course, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of water sign energy, like I said, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, that seems to be relevant. But it was change that was required. So whatever this, you know, old situation was, it's being revamped, and sort of in some way it is actually being put behind you here, where you're going to be able to see that the situation is improving on some level. So you just have to see it through. I feel like some of those rights or those wrongs are being righted here, and there is definitely something that was extremely painful that is, you know, moving into a better space either way. The Death card really closes doors here and doesn't allow you to go back into that old space of where something was. Something has really been redefined here, and I find that this is where the new circumstances, the new relationship, the new connection is, you know, the old connection is outgrown. And so this is that period of growth that you've been going through. And this Death card is definitely the transformation where there's been a change in perspective of some sort. Like I said, it's definitely difficult decisions that were forced upon this coupleship or you know, upon this friendship or upon this situationship or whatever it is. It was like things were forced to move in a new direction. So that means there's been some losses with those lessons. And there is a release of something, you know, of that toxicity that is kind of metamorphosizing and allowing the connection to move forward in a healthier way. So like I said, this kind of energy doesn't happen overnight. This is something that's really progressive. I mean, that's big energy, all of them. Major arcana, temperance, death, justice, the star. These are all big, big energies. And because we have a couple of aces in here, and granted they are the clarifiers, they're not the main cards out here, I feel like what's transpiring is something that is you know, a space where you have really had to almost, you know, not just the coupleship has had to been reinvented, but it's individually the connection, the people involved have also had to reinvent themselves, because that Star card is a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. And again, there's been a lot of you know, more rebalancing with the temperance, and definitely protection from, you know, ancestors. But this is focused attention in a particular area of something that was very imbalanced. No tower moment, nothing like that. But I feel like whatever that unhappy situation was, there's a lot more balance and harmony that's coming through, like I said. So that difficulty is healing, and it definitely speaks to a more caring sense, you know, going forward. There's more optimistic kind of renewal here for both of you. And again, you know, whatever this connection was, and it does feel like it's a significant one. Like I said, it doesn't have to be lovers specifically, but it definitely feels like things are going the way it should. So there's more hope that you're seeing in this situation. So whatever the new opportunity, whatever the new doorway is, it seems to be more so with communication. And again, there's still just new starts here with that Ace of Cups as well. So it's a renewal energy, and I do feel like there has been a lot of commitment to, you know, really seeing this through, because there is, you know, significant improvement for all this to be major arcana. And I do feel like this is even working out better than you expected that it would. Certainly because this is related around cards of, you'd hoped that things would go better, and in fact they have, but it has been coming at a significant compromise of allowing some of the toxicity to kind of roll through you or past you, not necessarily engaging in all aspects of it, but it definitely speaks to some kind of traveling through the situation with more of a more of a wise mind. Like I said, I mean, the temperance and the justice means you've really had to slow it down and, you know, figure something out. You've really had to delve into a place where you could sort of look for the miracles, you know, look for the possibilities. This again had to be coming from a wise mind, because you had to slow it down, you had to really think it out, and it definitely feels like that has, you know, that has taken place. The star card, like I said, is transcending. It's more of a spiritual purpose, as well as the death card for me. And again, even when we get to the clarifiers, I mean, this is definitely speaking to that doorway opening for the communication to restart again. I'm not saying it's not a big, strong communication, but it is a doorway or an opening where there's some idea, you know, where there's more honesty in a situation. And it definitely feels as though there's more strength that comes through, where you're breaking away from old mindsets, old belief systems, you know, maybe the two of you, but there's kind of a breakthrough energy that's done in a very careful way, that helps to really redefine things and helps you to reach the goal with this person, or at least to have some kind of breakthrough in terms of communicating something that might be said that helps to clarify, you know, feelings, or, you know, the direction that it's resolving an old problem either way, and you're seizing that opportunity, taking advantage of it. That's what I would say there, because there is a solution here with the Ace of Swords. I do feel like there is, not only is it a wise decision, but again, this is still pent up emotion, stress, anxiety that have, you know, having to find a way to temper all of that. So that requires a lot of self-control. And with the Temperance card coming through, I feel like one of you has definitely been doing that. If not both, and maybe perhaps the other is further out in that energy, but there's definitely been some element of that. I also feel like, you know, I don't want to say that I'm seeing boundaries specifically. It's almost like something's been allowed to, you've just pushed through it in some way. You know, it's really kind of that energy of, because it's all new. Like, I don't see twos where two people are engaging, although we do have the Two of Cups. So there has been a compromise, and there definitely is a healing between this, in this partnership emotionally. But like I said, I mean, when I see the King of Cups next to that Ace of Swords, I just really feel like there is some new door opening in terms of a way to reach this person, or at least there is some opportunity to reconnect. Oh, sorry, that was, I know that had a, oh yeah, the clarifier was under the Six of Swords. So King of Cups, like I said, definitely strongly feel it's a water sign that you're dealing with here, and it is a relationship that's transforming with regards to that. More positive outcomes, big energy, major arcana, deep feelings, you know, going on here as well. I do feel like there has been a lot of control of emotions, could be on both sides, but there is sort of an energy of, you know, needing to forgive and temper those emotions so that you can trust again, that kind of thing. It also sort of feels like, you know, you don't want to, I was going to say, I was going to say fluctuating moods, but I don't know that it's so much that. I mean, it could be fluctuating moods, but either way, it just feels like there's an improvement in controlling emotions and getting more in touch with feelings, by using the intellect as the go-to behavior for that. So there could be also a psychologist or counselor or somebody that's relevant here, but there's definitely a lot of energy around, you know, things. There's some release of tension. There's some release of tension because of a mindset, you know, balancing it out, thinking about, you know, how to compromise. That's what I see here. You know, there's definitely been a compromise of some sort, because this release is the Six of Swords. So you're not sort of dealing with the same level of issue that you were, because there's a triumph over the challenge here with the Six of Swords. That's what a six is, and it is being closer to harmony and balance. So like I said, big energy out here is major arcana. So I'm gonna go with that there's been some kind of big transformation that's taking place, still undergoing right now, but the energy is still quite profound actually in this space. So, like I said, the star energy for sure is indicative of a lot of. Actually, I should go back to this because we didn't do the clarifier. And again, even with the Queen of Cups, this could be a partnership between King and Queen of Cups, two water signs, or at least two very emotional people. You know, and the Queen of Cups definitely for sure on the average is someone who is more receptive and usually in control of their emotions. And of course, this is kind of that Queen of Cups is sort of reversing itself where, you know, maybe there has been you know, some level of instability around the emotional front of things, because the Queen of Cups normally is very traditional and somebody who has, you know, is comfortable with themselves and with their emotions and their home life, and, you know, they like a lot of those emotional experiences. But it's almost like with that Six of Swords and being in reverse, it's almost like there was a level of blocked emotions, you know, where somebody couldn't really express themselves, and there has been some level of blockage, maybe even on a spiritual or healing level. And I feel like the answer to that is having to let go of some of the negativity, you know, so some of the things that were blocking you, you know, things that you could control within yourself. You know, when we try to bring everything to the table and deal with it, of course, that does usually result in a very negative sort of outcome, because you can only deal with so much at one time. So most of the things that we release really have to be over the course of a period. So like I said, that Six of Swords definitely speaks to you know, transitioning from one phase of life to another. So does the Death card, you know, in that same space. And so many cards out here, like I said, that relate around energy that is trying to be balanced. So there's definitely, you know, a relationship that's trying to temper things, you know. And even though I'm not really seeing conquering energy, anybody winning, there's no real domination game, anything like that, it's almost like there's a certain level of understanding, because there's a lot of a mental approach here. The Six of Swords, like I said, is stable, more stable emotions and clear thinking, and it definitely is softening, you know, a viewpoint, because, you know, there's a stepping back of sorts with the Justice card. And again, those were the clarifiers. So I feel like you're kind of reassessing and reflecting a little bit here, whether this is you or another person, on some of these past events and how a situation, you know, really needed to have a release to make sense. You know, there was a certain level of commerce surroundings that's coming in here. And as I said, I feel even though there is some stability, there is still some emotional stability and movement going in this direction, there's progress, it is going to be something that will, you know, play out a little further into other months, I suspect, because when you really think about it, these four major arcana as the current energy, this is not something that you're dealing with in a day or two. This is something that really needs to act over a course of time. So it's a process of allowing things to kind of settle and get comfortable with this new thought or this new emotionally challenging situation, and identify with this new way of dealing with this person. There has been sort of a war zone, like I said, war of words, all of that, that's, you know, been sort of a result. But I feel like those circumstances, you know, have, even though there's a lot of verbal conflict, I feel showing up here, I feel like there is some kind of negotiation with that Justice. And again, the negotiation means somebody's leaving something at the table behind and going forward despite their thoughts about something. So it's like whatever the trouble was that, you know, you've been dealing with, I just feel like that war-torn sort of area is putting you back into a space of, you know, safety and safety of sorts, you know, because there was a lot of chaos. Again, it's almost like the energy had to transform between you or another or both parties before it could really show up as something positive. And again, the Two of Cups, it's still in that space of, you know, working through something. It definitely is, you know, getting more clarity, like I said, with the Ace of Swords, but that energy is also a more thoughtful approach with a new beginning. And it is definitely speaking to, you know, exchanging views by refining, you know, what you're talking about, being very careful about what the conversation entails, you know, having a very intentional conversation. So It's not loving and open and all of that. I feel like this is just very careful conversation about the path ahead, trying to direct things with more of a clear vision. And I feel like that's the approach, that's the concept. That is, what is helping to sort of secure, the foundation, because there is clearly a strong bond here with the Two of Cups, but it's almost like something was kind of lost in translation. But it's a more focused idea, like on how you're going to plan ahead here with this connection. And I do feel like this is still in that space of, you're pursuing more of a planned outcome, is what I want to say with that Ace of Swords. Let's get right into, I know I bounce around a little bit here, but it's just sort of how the cards sort of lay out to me or draw me in. So Two of Cups. Again, this is more of a, this was probably a very, productive union where this coupleship or this friendship or this connection was pretty strong at one point, because there's just too many big cards out here that really speak to a very strong connection. Somewhere along the line, there was a rift. There is some sense that this was, a beneficial alliance, and I still feel that it can be, but it does need to be sort of reattuned. There has to be something here about, pros and cons weighed, stepping back, and again, releasing something, an idea or a belief around how something, has to be playing out. So whether this is about taking a less of a level of control and just allowing things to sort of expand or develop as it would. I feel like it's almost more of that, because the healing energy sort of slows things down, and so does the Justice card, because you're weighing things out. Whatever this alliance is, I feel like there is something of a shared goal, even though it may not exactly be clear as to what that is yet, but it definitely is getting some measure of a new beginning and a new path forward. So, whatever the challenges were, I still feel like this is a very beneficial partnership, because there is some level of strong discord. So it's almost like, because there's been so much in the way of conflicting ideas, it's almost like that's where the compromise needed to take place, seeing or understanding someone else's point of view. And that takes some time before you can sort of get in their head to be able to negotiate a path forward. So it's not about what's right or wrong, and and having 100% goal boundaries, all of that, because this is about, how do I find the best middle ground to allow this to transform, because until you find the middle ground, nobody's being heard. So like I said, these are all really big players out here. So I would, be very careful about, how you are going forward, because these cards do suggest there is a strong need for balance that's required. When we get to the Star card, like I said, that is a card of healing. It definitely is a more optimistic card, as I mentioned, but it's certainly so many cards of really needing to harmonize things, really needing to slow it down, be compassionate, be a lot softer in the way you approach something, because this Justice card tells me that you each have a very unique point of view. And I feel like, there's been some unresolved arguments. So you're not really going to be able to solve everything. I feel like this is energy of, coming to a conclusion because you considered the consequences of something, and now it's under careful consideration, and maybe you do have to turn a bit of a blind eye to make progress to some of the things that you feel are important. So whatever you feel is important to you may not be important to the other person. Everybody's on their own journey, and they're taking responsibility for the path that they are clearly dealing with. So if somebody's dealing with a legality, then they have to deal with the legality, and that takes precedence over all other things. If somebody is dealing with some level of pain, then that will, medically or otherwise, that would be something that they need to consider first before the connection. So it's things like that. You have to be able to understand where someone is coming from and be aware of that. And that's where their personal decisions and their actions and consequences and all of that will be sort of geared, because that is the choices that they have to deal with in that moment. So that's why they would not necessarily be able to move in the direction of your path or your discussions, because their current energy is dealing with something that may be, more restrictive or more significant to them. And showing a little bit more compassion here, and again, negotiating so that everybody gets more of a straightforward idea, whether on paperwork or in terms of the actual connection. This is something that, you can only take responsibility for your certain circumstances, as would they. So again, find something about the relationship that actually has some viable interests that you both share, and able to let that grow. So again, it's about forgiving. There's a certain level of forgiveness that comes with that, because this has been ongoing struggles, but there is definitely a certain level of forgiveness that comes through here with the Star card and the Justice. And so I do feel like there's spiritual lessons that have also come in here to kind of help you to see the way forward. And again, when we get to the Star card is, really the most positive. So I really want to focus on that too. But we'll just kind of go back to the Death card. And again, the Death card in itself, I mean, it can indicate that there is, like, the old way is finished. You can't go back. You can't bring back a certain, way of talking to this person, or the old way that a connection was related, the way you were relating to that connection. Because like I said, I mean, something has changed significantly enough, internally, externally, whatever these habits, these opportunities, or whatever this person or yourself were facing. It's been such sweeping changes that you've had to pretty much surrender to the change. You can't hang on to the way something was, because life has presented you with some significant changes that have kind of swept away the old relatable situation. So it's almost like you need to grow again into this connection. And it seems to be more of, like I said, a surrendering is what I would say. I don't really see any kind of separation necessarily. I mean, there could be a certain level of distance, but I feel like there's still progress being made here in some way. So, like I said, overall, the energy kind of speaks to there being, it's something of transforming, your decisions by reasoning it out, by rationale, and finding ways to have a little more faith in the situation. The card of Temperance, like I said, that one definitely also speaks to, having a spiritual understanding of the situation. And I feel like it's been like a download, or however, this comes to you, but, whether this is dream sequence or otherwise, but somehow you're finding some sense of a strong purpose. You've got, a real value in this connection, or there is real value in this connection. And I feel like this could even relate around some kind of teaching issue here as well. But either way, there is definitely a path that's being left behind, and it definitely shows me that there is some element here that is being, transformed in multiple cards here. So again, whatever the goal was, it's been measured and it is being achieved, but it's going through a transition. So it's not going to feel the same way. You may not feel the same way about this connection as you once did, because there's such a deep transformation that's taken place. This does offer a bigger picture with all this major arcana. So you're really coming to highlight some of the ways that you can balance it by self-control, balance it by self-discipline. There's moderation all over this, and this is how you're regulating your efforts toward this other person. So again, remaining positive and being aware of your own life purpose, as well as coming to know maybe someone else's, that kind of thing. All of this energy really speaks to, like I said, some element around independence. Well, maybe not so much independence as it is spiritual lessons in moderation, like spiritual lessons in how to control yourself, how to regulate emotional imbalances, because that's where you're gaining your personal growth and the learning is coming through. this is your way forward. This is releasing the negativity or the ideas, the things that, you know, you felt blocked by, because the only way through in this particular situation seems to be you have to release it. You have to release this energy um, of all the wrongs that were done you. You have to release that. You have to be in this space of the star, because this is more centered energy. And this is the energy of you moving into more of a security, a level of security and stability and purpose. And I think this is really where you're kind of freeing yourself up from, you know, conventional ways of doing things, but it's also a period of emotional freedom. You know, like I said, you've got more faith. You don't feel hopeless in this connection. You feel like there's something here that is going to spring forward that allows for more fun. So it's also, like I said, most of the energy, like I said, is still, I don't see a lot of physical movement or things in the practical. It's almost like the transformation is taking place on a very significant level, in a significant way, but it's on an like there's an undercurrent of it taking place. So I mean, it's like stimulated new emotional starts, as well as stimulating more ideas, that kind of thing. So there's more flow into this connection. There's more with that star card, like I said, it's more about using those lessons to do the healing. And like I said, it seems to be with the Temperance card, it's completely about the only way you can get this refreshing new change or this new beginning is by allowing yourself to release the idea of what you think it should look like or be like. And then it will become more real. So it's almost like your ideas, the mindset, for sure, is the focus. It's the way forward. So when we get to the final cards out, and I just want to go through that there too. So these were really the outcome cards. That's the Ace of Cups, which led to the Ten of Cups, and I held back on those because they were so amazing, with the King of Pentacles. There are the cards that let you know you are going on the right track. So again, you had the Ace of Swords, so there's been some kind of a mental shift that's had to happen, enable for this Ace of Cups. This is further out, but it definitely speaks to some kind of a new emotional beginning. It's only a very small sort of start that kind of moves in this direction, but it does introduce more compassion, more of a sentimental, reflective kind of space, family oriented for sure, with the Ten of Cups. Definitely speaks to something that is emotionally, you know, nurturing to you and connecting for you. But and like I said, the King of Pentacles, it feels like it's a very practical new start, because Pentacles represent a more secure beginning, something that has a stronger footing. It's definitely something here that is not resistant to change. This is about a realistic, grounded, practical, hardworking kind of energy that you're moving into with this person. It's a very cautious sort of energy, though, I would say, with the King of Pentacles, because this is somebody who, you know, really is interested in, derives their security from a lot of emotional well-being. It seems to be how they ground, like that's what grounds them, is this emotion. Their emotional state needs to be in check before they really feel like they're in this space of being able to manage their money or hang on to something in a, you know, significant way. Like I said, the King of Pentacles is still one that is kind of further out. I feel like that's the energy you're probably moving toward, but it definitely is something that's applied to the material world, and it's definitely someone I see as a very traditional card. So whether this is you or someone else, could be a Taurus energy that's also coming through here, but this is somebody who is in pursuit of stability and security, or certainly holds it in high regard for sure. This person really wants comfort in their life, and they really want to have a lot of a lot of happiness. They want the whole picture. They want the money. They want the emotional connection. You know, they have very practical, prudent plans here when they move forward about something, but it's definitely having a basic understanding of all the things that, how things should look. You know, this is a really reliable conservative energy, and this is what they want. This to me could be the other person, but it definitely speaks to, I want the whole picture. I want it to be, you know, as I hold it in my mind. Like I said, the Ten of Cups heralds, you know, really big energy. It's, you know, family oriented, but it's also about being very connected to your path. I would still say that it is still the energy of what you're working toward. You're not quite in that space yet, for sure. There's a lot of life lessons that kind of come in before this energy, and it's all major arcana. So this is not where, this is where you're headed, and you're moving into this space. I would say probably going to have something maybe in the next few months. I mean, it's hard to say, 3 to 4 months. I don't feel that tarot does, you know, really long-term sort of. I feel like the energy is always shifting and changing because we do make different decisions, you know, every day of our life. So things can always shift. But I do feel like this person knows the value of their time, their energy, and certainly they're not willing to compromise. You know, they want it all planned. They want the connection. They want that life of emotional fulfillment. This could also be you as well, but definitely prioritizes family or being around people that they love and really strongly connected with. I feel like this is what's desired. And I did ask about that being the outcome, so I feel like that is where things are headed, is that comfortable family life where everybody is very supportive and there's kind of a source of strength for one another, like-minded people, and there's just a lot of, you know, balance and health and emotional stability, all of that. And this is working energy. You know, this is really, but right now the Ace of Cups is where we're at. So like that's going to be the most current energy about where things move in this connection. So again, it's further out. It definitely does apply to putting a lot more effort into the connection, but it's more of a slow, steady energy here. Sorry guys, my throat gets dry. Libra is also present in this reading. And again, still with that Justice card, it's people taking responsibility for their relationships and their own happiness. And I feel like that was also a part of kind of the present answer about how things would show up. The other part was too, like I said, I mean, that Death card is change, transforming around the emotional front. So until that really happens, and then there has to be some balance between both parties matching up at the same time with this challenge, then you'll be able to you know, work on moving ahead. But right now it feels like the energy is still working on the Ace of Cups, still trying to figure out how to, you know, just open the door here with because this is what you're waiting for. You need an emotional opening here. You need a bit of a start or a bit of a heads up before you can even get to this Ten of Cups. It's still quite a ways further out. But again, that Ace of Cups is still, you know, you're connecting emotionally and spiritually or whatever here, but it definitely still feels like you need to emphasize more along the line of, you know, keeping to your soft, compassionate, gentle approach. And that is how you're going to bring about this new beginning. But again, either way, Ace of Cups is very positive, happy card. It's definitely moving in the right direction. It does represent more of an emotional connection in this situation. There's definitely going to be a lot of fulfillment further out, you know, given the current energy. And again, it's still based around, you know, the factors, the energy, the other things that will come in to affect the relationship or the connection may still be at play. But again, there could also be artist, writer, musician, anybody like that that's in the creative areas that could be relevant here as well. But this is definitely motivated to find some kind of emotional satisfaction either way. Definitely taking responsibility, a lot of that energy here as well, but very concerned about emotionally nurturing oneself, and that is how this person is going to affect change, or how the connection will affect change, because it's all about balanced emotions. Is the only way that this is going to come about. That's what I have for you, Libra. This is about your situationship. Again, doesn't have to be a relationship, but it certainly does play out as a happy connection that is moving in the right direction, but it's a very slow, methodical energy. And again, you're still at the Ace of Cups, so you're not in the space of dramatic changes yet, but you are operating with a fair amount of good energy here. And like I said, just keep it balanced, because there's deep transformations taking place, a little more below the surface, as I mentioned. But I definitely feel with that Knight of Pentacles, or sorry, Knight of Wands, there is some action that's taking place. And certainly it's more along the lines of a warmer energy. It could have been a little bit of the hostility or whatever, originally, because it's, like I said, right beside the Ace of Swords, so it's kind of just slowly moving away from that energy. But I still feel like the overall outcome is tempering the emotions here, so you're definitely moving in the right direction. And the Knight of Wands, like I said, could be dealing with somebody who's 20s, 30s, that kind of thing, but for sure there is a more positive sort of outlook. Anyway, that's what I have for you. Everything is looking very good. Like I said, even with that Knight of Wands, I mean, it is still describing, you know, some action of maybe impulsivity, but, you know, remain balanced. That's really where you'll have the most success. Definitely it is someone who is 20 to 30s, like I said. But I still feel like overall, like I said, that energy could be dealing with a fire sign here as well, or at least temperament around that. But it's somebody who doesn't really have the maturity yet, I feel, because we're moving into the Kings, Queens, and the King of Pentacles. Could be also dealing with the King of Pentacles for some of you further out, somebody who's coming in to influence the situation here as well. But I definitely feel like it's still playing out as, you know, moving toward that maturity or that discipline. That's where things are at. So it's not quite in that space yet of able to act from that frame of mind. But there is committed energy here, and there's a lot of potential here. Anyway, that's what I have for you, Libra. Take care. Keep moving forward.